It's never been a better time to be an Xbox fan, and I'm gonna prove it to you. Let's discuss. What's up, guys, and welcome to Xbox Ready, the YouTube channel that is all about Xbox. So whether you're an old fan or you're new to the Xbox family, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and keep up to date on all things Xbox to make sure that you are Xbox ready. There is excitement in the air, ladies and gentlemen. YouTubers, content creators, journalists from all over the world that cover the video game industry are converging on the city of Los Angeles for the start of what could be a really awesome weekend, and it all kicked off today with Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. If for whatever reason you didn't tune into Summer Game Fest, maybe you had something else going on, or you were just like, I don't want to watch a 2-hour show, I got you covered. I was there. I'm going to provide you with all the essentials that you need as an Xbox fan, and I'm going to put some things on your radar that you should be looking out for Sunday's show, the Xbox Bethesda showcase, including some hands-on time with the ROG Ally, also known as the world's first portable handheld Game Pass machine. So this Summer Game Fest, this show was, I felt like, very similar to last year's show. It started off really strong. It was like, oh my gosh, this new Prince of Persia, that looks crazy. It's going to be coming to Xbox consoles. I am super pumped for it. And I am a big fan of how this Prince of Persia game looks and plays. It's still got this really cool style, this kind of like anime-esque feel that's really popular in media nowadays. And the main character design, again, I don't know if he's the same prince, like the Prince of Persia, or someone different, but he looks dope, man. He's got like that clean fade, that clean undercut with like the locks on top. It looks cool. They kept it going with an extended gameplay look at Mortal Kombat 1, and this thing, whew, the brutalities, the fatalities were looking crazy in this game, guys, and I'm really interested in this kind of reboot, like soft reset of the Mortal Kombat universe. I'm not sure how many of y'all have played through Mortal Kombat 11, but at the end of that game, Liu Kang basically becomes a fire god, and it seems like in this new Mortal Kombat, he's gonna kind of take on the role that traditionally falls to Raiden, like gathering all the warriors to compete in the tournament and like face off against Shao Kahn. Jeff Keighley, before this presentation, was hyping this up like this video is crazy, like the fatality's crazy, the gore is crazy, and he was right. And they mentioned like, oh, there's gonna be cameos in this gameplay trailer, and I was like, oh man, this is it. Homelander from The Boys, Peacemaker, we're gonna see them. Their inclusion in this game has already been leaked, but we did not get to see any look at them today. But other than that, this game looks really good, really fun. They did mention that Jean-Claude Van Damme was gonna be voicing Johnny Cage in this, and I thought that was really dope. Summer Game Fest checked off a really important point on my list of things that I want to see going forward in 2023, and that was, when is Lies of P going to be releasing? I know that name sounds ridiculous, Lies of P, what is going on? But when it was announced that this game was going to be coming to Game Pass day 1 in 2023, a lot of people were excited because it looked cool. It's a Souls-like game, and I know that gets thrown around a lot, like, oh, this game is kind of like Dark Souls, the combat's kind of like Dark Souls. We got a pretty decent look at this game, and yes, I am seeing shades of Dark Souls, especially when it comes to the combat, but I'm also seeing shades of some of the more recent Final Fantasy games, and a little bit of BioShock Infinite, actually. The setting of this game, at least what they were showing off, seemed to have a heavy kind of turn of the century type feel. It kind of reminded me a lot of Columbia in BioShock Infinite. You play as Pinocchio in this game, but instead of being like, oh, I'm a cute little puppet wanting to be a real boy, it's like, I'm a hot anime guy, and I'm here to kick some ass. The design, the world, it all looked really awesome. These monsters that you face looked gross, horrific. I'm really into it. The release date kind of had me raising my eyebrows a little bit. It's going to be releasing September 19th. And guys, September is a pretty packed month for Xbox. As a reminder, Starfield is going to be releasing in September as well. So I'm like, okay, am I going to pull myself away from Starfield as an Xbox fan to go and try and play Lies of P and juggle those two? I'm not sure. But outside of that, the game looked pretty cool, and surprise, there is a playable demo available as of right now on Xbox, on Game Pass, and on PlayStation. They did show off Party Animals as well, which is like a baby Xbox exclusive. For those of you who don't know, it's one of those physics-based silly games like Human Fall Flat, Gang Beasts. So it was a bunch of characters like that, this trailer, but with streamers and people just laughing at it and having a good time. Party Animals is supposed to be coming out September 20th, the day after Lies of P E3 and just a couple of weeks after Starfield. Again, September, it's like, what am I going to prioritize, right? I'm going to be playing Starfield, but I feel bad for putting off at least Lies of P until I'm finished and satisfied. We saw gameplay of Alan Wake 2, but I was a little confused. I was like, this feels like it's stuttering a little bit too much, but I really like the vibe of the game. It's gonna be really scary, guys. The one thing I did not like from this showcase, I mean, this Twisted Metal trailer, I was like, what is going on? I love the Twisted Metal franchise. It's something I grew up with. And as we all know, Twisted Metal is all about cars with guns attached to them and people are shooting each other. But in this trailer, it was just like Will Arnett's voice with clearly not Will Arnett, and then Anthony Mackie just like going back and forth, making jokes. They were fighting, but the fight choreography, it wasn't really great. I've just like lost all interest in this TV show. They showed off Baldur's Gate 3, but they didn't announce what platforms it was going to be coming to. As we all know, the Xbox version of this game is kind of delayed, and the developers blame the Series S. They're like, we can't get split screen to run on the Series S due to its memory constraints, so we're going to be pushing that back, delaying that version, and then shipping the PlayStation 5 and the PC versions at launch. I'm looking at it again right now, and at the end of this trailer where they usually have, the platforms that are going to be supported at the bottom, PlayStation 5, Switch, PC, Epic Game Store, whatever, there was just nothing, so we have no more clarity on that than we did just a couple months ago. They also surprisingly had a hardware reveal for Xbox fans. Me and Jimmy were expecting them sort of to announce like the PS5 Slim, but in a surprise twist of events, they announced a new special edition Xbox Series X. This is a collaboration with Porsche, like literally the car, for their 75th anniversary. And because Porsche is 75 years old, they are making 75 of these consoles. They all have unique designs, they're all different, and in classic Xbox fashion, you can't buy them. You have to enter into a contest in order to win any of them. And that is just typical, man. Like, they make these cool looking consoles and then they're like, yeah, but only like a handful of you are going to even see this thing. And they all come with a custom controller. It looks really cool. If you want to go and have your chance to win one of these things, all you got to do is go to PorscheXboxSweepstakes.com and follow the rules there. With all of this talk about a Starfield controller, a Starfield headset, I thought for sure they might do a special edition Xbox. I guess they still could, but now that they have this special edition Porsche Xbox going on, I don't know how likely it is that we'll see a Starfield one. Moving on to the showcase that's happening this Sunday, I'm going to put a number of things on your radar, starting off with some really exciting hardware that just came out. I'm talking about the ROG Ally. This is a fully handheld device made by Asus, Dr. Seuss, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure a lot of you watching are familiar with this brand. I was so excited when they sent one of these my way to finally check it out in person. I feel like I've been talking about it for a long time. The first handheld Xbox, and now I finally have it in my hands. For those of you who don't know, this thing is supposed to be the Windows version of the Steam Deck. And because it is a Windows device, you can run the Xbox app on it natively. The Xbox app comes pre-installed and it comes with 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate. And it's just awesome to see that Xbox is finally, however small it is, finally making a move into the handheld gaming space. They even have a button that will pull up all of the games that you have across multiple services, be it the Xbox app, Steam, Battle.net. It's really convenient. So for those of you who are console-only gamers, you may not be familiar with the PC Xbox app. You gotta take my word for it in that it translates to this device really, really well. You have access to all the same features like your home dashboard, Game Pass, cloud gaming, the Microsoft Store, even your socials tab so you can keep up with all of your friends. I went ahead and downloaded Hi-Fi Rush, the game that everyone has forgotten about, and Dead Cells. And I gotta say, this thing runs games pretty dang well. The 1080p screen looks really great, but they built in a way to change it to 720p if you want a higher frame rate. They have a built-in command center that lets you change the resolution, the frame rate, and further tweak the performance so you can extend the battery life of the Ally. Overall, this is a really cool aesthetic look. Obviously, this one is got the white case. It's got like the built-in RGB lights around the freaking analog sticks. I think that's so clean. I will say there are a few drawbacks to this, which I feel like is to be expected with these kind of new age handheld devices. First of all, the battery life is a bit of a concern. If you're running this thing on turbo mode or max settings in a lot of these games, you're not going to get a lot of playtime out of it in just the straight up handheld mode, which is a little bit disappointing. game. So you're definitely going to need some sort of battery bank. I'm sure they're going to make a ton of money selling these things, or have your charger handy. I would also say it's an interesting move that they didn't include a trackpad on this thing like the Steam Deck has. But overall, the controller layout feels really great. They have those same asymmetrical analog sticks like you're familiar with if you're an Xbox gamer. And also, Asus has been really good updating the firmware for this thing, even in the review period, so I have a firm belief that this thing will get better over time. The ideal scenario, in my opinion, is that this thing sells really well, and then Xbox is like, okay, maybe instead of partnering up with these people and giving them Game Pass Ultimate and doing these promotions, maybe we make a first-party handheld of our own, and then everybody's happy. I think people are getting a little fatigued on the idea of cloud gaming or streaming-only devices, so I'm really hoping that things like this, the Ally, the Steam Deck, do well. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying this thing, and again, this thing is going to have some sort of presence at the Xbox Bethesda showcase. Speaking of the showcase, let's talk about some other things that should be on your radar if you're an Xbox fan. So my barometer when it comes to what's going to be shown off at the game show stems from this interview that Kinda Funny Games did the other day with Phil Spencer. And in it, Paris Lilly said, hey, Phil, are we going to get updates on games like Avowed, Perfect Dark, Everwild, Fable, State of Decay, Contraband, Hellblade 2, any games from Compulsion Games or In Exile Games? And Phil Spencer, he was in a pretty grumpy mood because Redfall just launched, but he was like, yeah, you're gonna get an update on some of those games on your list, Paris. So when I'm thinking of the showcase lineup when it comes to first-party stuff, that's kind of what I reference. The first one on that list is Avowed, and this is something I've talked about on the channel before. It's a game that I'm looking forward to immensely. Avowed is a game developed by Obsidian, which in my opinion is Xbox Game Studios' most slept-on acquisition. It's going to be a fantasy RPG, which again is right up my alley. The game is set in the same universe as Obsidian's other games, Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. In the Pillars of Eternity games, you take on the role of someone at first who seems really normal, like just a generic adventurer, but it turns out that your character is actually a watcher, which long story short is someone that can see the past lives of souls that continue to linger on the mortal plane. So my big question is, are they going to continue with that storyline in Avowed? Are you going to be a watcher? Are you going to get special Souls-like powers? But from what we've seen, the little teaser that they've shown us, this game kind of looks like Skyrim a little bit. But we also know that from job listings posted by Obsidian, that at one point they were looking for staff, they were looking for people that specialize in dialogue and branching narratives. And because of that, people are like, okay, this game is going to be like The Outer Worlds, but just in a fantasy setting. And for those of you who played The Outer Worlds, you know that your dialogue options and your choices have a very heavy impact on the world around you. Another big question about this game is if they're going to go the route of open world. Like, at this point, we're all pretty used to the open world RPG, but if this game is going to be like The Outer Worlds, that game was not really open world, it was like open zone. You got on your spaceship, you went to another planet, another area, but your spaceship served as the hub kind of situation to take you between those zones. Either way, I'm super excited for this game, and I am hoping, I am praying that they show it off at the game showcase on Sunday. There's also been a lot of chatter about Fable making an appearance at the Xbox Game Showcase, this Fable reboot that Playground Games has been working on. People are pretty much certain that this game is going to show up at the showcase because of a certain teaser that Xbox showed off on Twitter. There was like a glitter trail starting from like a guy's controller in the living room that went up the stairs and to a computer that had the Xbox Game Showcase logo. And in Fable, if you've played any of them, the thing that leads you to quest objective is like a trail of light, a glittery trail, if you will. And because Aaron Greenberg came out and said there's not going to be any CGI trailers, I'm really looking forward to like a full-on gameplay trailer showcase of this new Fable reboot. Outside of that, we got Everwild, which is a new game being developed by Rare Studios, the people behind Sea of Thieves. This game was teased forever ago, and in the trailers that we've seen, it kind of seems like, I don't know, like a survival game, but you're also saving animals and helping them out and like exploring this very ethereal, fairy-like world. But we got some news the other day, some rumors that sparked from Twitter saying that it's going to be less of a survival game and more like Viva Pinata, which is still kind of in line with what we were thinking it was going to be with these trailers. In Viva Pinata, I don't know if you guys remember, that game came out out forever ago in the 360 generation. But yeah, you spend the whole game rearing animals that are also piñatas and playing mini games with them. So this could potentially be like the more serious artistic version of Viva Piñata. Also on the list is State of Decay 3. What is going on with that game? The State of Decay franchise is a zombie survival sim sort of situation. And from what we've heard about the game in general, it seems pretty positive. The ex-studio head of Undead Labs has said like this could possibly be like the most immersive, coolest zombie survival game out there. We also know that this game is being built in Unreal Engine 5 entirely, and the Coalition is helping them on it. But we also know that there's been some drama at Undead Labs, like there's some kind of shady stuff going on there, and they've been asking Xbox to have like a more heavy hand in terms of leadership, in terms of stepping in. So I would be very, very curious to see if State of Decay 3 makes an appearance at this showcase. Also on the list due for an update, we got Contraband. Y'all remember Contraband? It's being developed by Avalanche Studios. Avalanche Studios is behind games like Just Cause, Mad Max. And Contraband is supposed to be built in the same engine as Just Cause. And the basic premise of the game is that you are a smuggler in a smuggler's paradise. We also know that there's going to be some sort of co-op element as well. And according to the game director, it's going to be the most ambitious and spectacular game from Avalanche to date. I'm not sure if it's going to make an appearance at the game showcase, but it'd be nice to have some sort of update. We know that they're not sticking to this like 12-month time frame that they did last showcase. In terms of the more immediate future, I feel like we're owed release dates in Windows on Hellblade 2 and Forza Motorsport. These games have been showing up in Xbox marketing for Game Pass and things like that. So I feel like they're going to have some sort of release window for these games. Mr. Matty Plays has previously said that Motorsport is targeting like an October release window, but we're not sure. And especially with Motorsport, that's a game that people are like chomping at the bit for. So if this showcase comes and goes and we get no news on Motorsport, I feel like that's a misstep if you're Xbox. The first Hellblade was like, okay, underdog, it was an indie title meant to show off, like simulate what it's like to go through psychosis. And Hellblade 2 is like, they got the backing of Xbox, and therefore it has a lot more pressure. Anyway, that concludes your comprehensive guide to what you missed at Summer Games Fest and what to expect at the Xbox Game Showcase. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.